My name's Tania. I'm an addict. I say these words every day so that I don't forget who or what I am. It's a constant reminder to be grateful for the life that I get to live today. And it doesn't seem so long ago that I was caught in a spiraling storm of active addiction. How I came to be a Christian Women's Job Corps is a miracle that started in 1982. At 12 years old, I was well on my way to being what everyone said I was going to become. I believe my grandmothers prayed for me a lot, as well as some of my teachers and my friends' parents. I believe those prayers were answered when my mother bought a little house and moved us to Irving, Texas. Before that, we lived in Dallas in a low-rent apartment complex where all kinds of nefarious stuff went on while the single moms were out. This move to Irving introduced me to Julia. She's my lifelong best friend. She was such a sweet and pretty girl. I felt like a weirdo, but she didn't seem to see me that way at all. So we hung out, and she was really cool. She loved Duran Duran. It was the only girl drummer in the junior high school band. We watched music videos, and we danced in the living room, and we swooned over Simon Le Bon and Roger Taylor from Duran Duran. We went to the mall and tried on clothes in stores we couldn't afford, and got our ears pierced against our mother's wishes. Ate peanut butter on Fig Newtons and curled each other's hair and borrowed each other's clothes and did homework together. In fact, it was the only time I probably got any homework done. There were a lot of poor choices on my part as we got older. Usually there is some boy at the center of it, but she never seemed fazed by the attention that she got from boys. Julia lost her mother in her sophomore year of high school, and she moved to Houston. And my best friend experienced a loss so real and so life-changing that I could not fully comprehend it. And I somehow made it about me. Without her, I became such a problem for the school and my mother that I was sent to a group foster home. And the kids that had problems there made me feel like my problems weren't big enough. So I went out of my way to make mine more and bigger. And I had a real gift for creating drama. We made our way back to MacArthur High School in time to graduate. Everyone else was growing up and looking after their futures. Julia had a strong Christian background that her mother had given her. I didn't have any such thing. I didn't really think I had a future, so I partied and I lived like there was no tomorrow. My dark, edgy Dallas nightclub persona was attractive to some people, but I was a senior in high school. I didn't have any business going to the places I was going, doing the things that I was doing. And by putting myself in adult situations and places, I skipped the last of my childhood and some foundational experiences that are only afforded to the young. I felt like I was playing a part in a movie. I didn't really have any idea who I was, and I became a destructive force of nature without any direction. Julia was a little distant when I came back our senior year. I really wasn't the same me. She didn't give up on me, however. Her dad and her stepmother, they had some misgivings about me and discouraged the friendship. She had her own path to follow, and they preferred that I wasn't on it. We still hung out sometimes, but they kept such a tight lock on her that we left each other behind more often than not. I missed her, but I never blamed her. I wanted her to go forth and have an amazing life, and she did do that. I never really felt like I deserved her as a friend. She reached out to me in our late 20s, right before our 10-year high school reunion, and I got my best friend back. I was still making tons of bad decisions and struggled with substance use off and on, but she was a lamp that lit my feet and kept me from getting completely lost. Today, I pretty much just do what she tells me to. You know those bracelets that say CWJC, and it means what would Jesus do? To me, that means what would Julia do? In 2024, she works for a nonprofit that networks other nonprofits. Last summer, she asked me to volunteer at an expo they organized. as I do what she tells me to, whenever it's possible, and it was possible, I accepted the volunteer position. She walked me over to an information table after lunch where Brandy and Morgan were promoting a job skills program that sounded like it was probably a lot of work. That was hard because I was fairly certain I might be allergic to work. But she suggested I put my name on their list, so I did. I wasn't confident that I could learn anything that they were trying to teach, but Julia thought it was a good idea. Then it was a good idea. Over the next several weeks, I forgot about it until Brandy called one day to ask if I wanted to come to an orientation. I knew what Julia would tell me to do, so I just did it. And here I am, and as usual, Julia was right. I'm glad and I'm grateful to be here. I didn't realize until I got here how much of myself I lost along the way. I always suspected I never had much in the way of a foundation for my identity to begin with. The Christian Women's Dog Corps became a vital part of my recovery as an addict. I wasn't really employable, and that affected my self-esteem. I couldn't set a goal of any kind because I had no understanding of how to set one, much less how to achieve it. I had no structure for my time and flew everywhere by the seat of my pants. Everything seemed insurmountable, and most things I wanted for myself seemed hopeless. I was desperate to grow up, and I didn't know how. This isn't the case any longer. I thought I was going to learn some basic computer skills, which I did. But I also learned that I'm worthy of God's love. I learned the fundamentals and practical applications of personal boundaries based on biblical principles. That boundaries really are an expression of love and respect, and I'm learning how to use them for the betterment of everyone in my life. I thought I was going to find Bible study dull, that I would just have to power through it, but I found myself drawn to the teachings. I learned more about God, Jesus, and Christianity in the CWJC program than I ever knew before in my entire life, and I want more. Because of my new understanding and relationships of God with God and Jesus Christ, which now go deeper than an acquaintance. I finally understand why Julia had things like sense and living skills and heart and purpose, while I felt like a caged feral animal in almost every social setting. Because of Christian Women's Job Corps, I now have all those things, plus a few personal goals, a sense of my own value, both as a woman and a person, and hope for my very own future that as much as I do love my husband, doesn't hinge on the acceptance and validation of a man. In fact, the quality of my love for him feels richer and rooted in something much more substantial now that I have a greater understanding of God's love. Christian Women's Job Corps is exactly what was needed to kickstart my life in a direction that I always wanted to go. I'm forever in gratitude for all the people on my journey, especially my best friend, my Narcotics Anonymous sponsor, my husband, my children. They all brought me to the door and told me to enter. I'm just as grateful for every teacher and administrator at CWJC who keeps the light on for women who come seeking knowledge and spiritual sustenance. The women who shared and created this experience with me, and for the journey partners who supported all of us throughout. Thanks to Christian Women's Job Corps, my life will never be the same. And I'm so glad. My name's Tania. I'm an addict. Thank you.